Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Give Voice to Teams. My name is Jason Nadeau, and I'm the product manager at Sherweb for our various voice services, such as Cloud PBX, SIP trunking, and of course, our managed Teams voice service, which is going to be the main topic today. So we're going to be exploring the changing realities of working from home and how Teams can be leveraged to help collaboration amongst the different departments and coworkers. We're also going to be looking at the security considerations that are required, or at least should be required, with the tools that we use for work. And lastly, we're going to be talking about how Sherweb's dedicated voice team can simplify and guide you through the process of a Teams voice deployment. So as many of you know, Sherweb has a very close relationship with Microsoft, and we work together to make sure that we provide our partners and their customers with the right solutions for their needs. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce my very first guest, Kevin Martins. Kevin is a partner technical architect for the modern workplace at Microsoft. Kevin, welcome.
Hey, Jason, and thank you for having me on today as one of your guests.
Hey, thank you so much for being here. I'm also joined by our very own James Welburn, one of our voice experts and technical solution advisors with well over 10 years experience in the telecom industry. James is here to guide you through the different voice and collaboration tools that Sherweb and Microsoft have to offer, and to pick the one that's most relevant for the needs, requirements, and even the nice to haves of a business. Hey, James.
Oop,
You're muted.
I'll mute.
Probably unmute myself here. Yeah, no, thanks guys for letting me in this year. I'm definitely looking to help you guys in terms of just sharing the good word and what Teams can do for your business, for your partners, and then I'll touch on a little bit later even how Sherweb can be a part of that solution for your bases. So again, very much looking forward to this.
Super. Thank you very much for being here with us, Kevin and James. So high level, what we're going to be going through today, we're going to be talking about why is unified communications trending. We're going to look into Microsoft Teams, our hub for teamwork, and how it is so secure. And of course, how Sherweb can help with our managed Teams voice solutions. So we're currently going through this unprecedented period where a huge chunk of the worldwide population has been ordered to stay home. So businesses are moving their entire workforce from corporate offices to home offices. So that means that departments and employees can no longer have meetings together in a boardroom or just walk over to someone's desk to have this impromptu brainstorming session. And that's something that's very important to me. So things are changing right now and really fast. Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about your work from home experiences?
Yeah, sure thing. So absolutely, things are changing very, very quickly. From those boardroom meetings and one-on-ones, they're so important to so many businesses, and we all now have to your point, have to adapt to this new reality. But see, here's the thing. I've gone through this process already. I worked in a Verizon data center for many years, and where I always went into the office. While there, I battled the Beltway traffic around the city where I'm located in a 45-minute commute each way. And when I got there, I had side conversations with people about their weekend plans. I'd listen to the latest gossip. The normal things that happen in an office environment. So when I joined HP about 15 years ago, after my Verizon days, it was very different. It was a 98% work from home position. Everything I knew had changed really for not going into an office. This is really what people are going through forcefully now as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So back then, with my role at HP, and again, possibly traveling 2 or 3 weeks throughout the year, the rest of my time was at my home office. Was it a switch? Yes. Was it very odd at first? Yes. And back then, we used things like Jabber and for instant messaging, and the HP conference calling system, right? Fast forward to about 9 years ago when I began working at Microsoft in another, again, home office based role. Since then, I've seen remote collaboration capabilities grow quite a bit. Now with Microsoft Teams, especially, we can easily switch from instant messaging, file sharing, phone calls, video calls, conference calls, and so much more. And it's capabilities like these that keep us all so well connected and feeling like a team. It's much closer than we actually are when we're spread across thousands of miles across the country. In some cases across the world. So yeah, it's very different. And again, something I've already lived through, and I can just imagine and remember what everyone's going through right now.
Wow. Yeah, that's really great to hear. And communication in its various forms, whether it be chat, email, and of course just voice, is really key. And it's extra challenging at this point when the workforce is spread out. So can you tell me a bit about your transition from going to the office work to working from home? Because that must have been a pretty big challenge.
It was, yeah. It was again, it was different, right? But I'll tell you, I did grow to love it. I loved the flexibility and how much more work I felt like I was able to get done each day. I wasn't sitting in traffic anymore for an hour and a half each day. I no longer heard that office gossip. That could be a bit of a time waster at times. I didn't hear those distracting coworker telephone conversations that could be very loud. I was able to focus on the work that I love doing so much, and really appreciated the work from home as a more of a perk of the role.
Hmm.
What was really great is the flexibility, and for those of you that have kids, you can think about it like this. I mean, I was working a lot, but if I wanted to step out for lunch, I could. If I wanted to start work at 6 a.m. instead of 8 a.m., I could do that if I needed to take off the afternoon. If I needed to step out to see one of my kids, at a school event, I could. If I could get my kids onto the school bus every morning and be there when they got back. Having that type of flexibility, that's priceless. That's something that my parents and maybe your parents, they didn't have that work from home flexibility,
No.
30 to 40 years ago. We're dating ourselves, but it certainly is something to keep in mind as a perk of the role. You just have to make the best of what it is, and I certainly have learned to appreciate it over the years. So, Jason.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing your work from home experience. So basically what I'm gathering or what I'm hearing is that even though it can be a pretty sudden change, if you have the right tools with some planning, some practice, and a user adoption process in place, working from home, it's not only good for businesses because now you get access to this whole worldwide pool of talent that you could bring on, but it's good for the employees themselves, right? It helps bring a saner life work balance. You're able to take those breaks or that lunchtime with your family. So it's good for everybody, from the employers all the way to the employees, that become more productive and less distracted. So we keep talking about the right tools. Is this what we call unified communications?
Similar, but not exactly. Let me
Uh,
explain.
Tell
So,
me more.
so like I mentioned, when I worked for HP many years ago, we had a piece of software for doing email, of course. Back then, I'm sure it was Outlook. Another one for booking calendar meetings, again, Outlook. But we also had other things for that real-time chat, the instant messaging from one person to another, clear across the country, right? Another piece of software to do video conferences. Conference bridges, yep, something else. Sharing files back and forth. Remember there was an HP upload system, all web-based back in the day, in case the file size was any bigger than 10 megs, which is nothing nowadays, right?
Yeah,
But it was then we had, you wanted a group chat. Well, that was just something different. But it was all of these different systems we had to work with to bring it all together, right? Well, that's really what unified communications is today. It brings together all of those different elements so that if we do want to step from an instant messaging to a voice call to a video call to share a file, share a screen, we can do that with a click of the button in the same portal. That we'll talk about that a little bit more later on.
awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Um, so I guess what I keep saying to the people that I talk to, I see UC as kind of like your Swiss Army knife for collaboration, communication, and productivity. So you said it beautifully. It's all these tools that used to be separate that are now all under one roof.
Yep. Yep.
So Sherweb and Microsoft, we've always got the backs of our partners and their customers, and we're going through a very different period right now. So what we see is businesses are looking for ways to set up remote workers as fast as possible. So we have solutions for this. We can help you out. what I recommend is that you reach out to your account manager at Sherweb to hear more about the different options that we have where we could rapidly deploy a remote workforce that will be productive, secure, and happy. So ask your account manager about any current promotions that we might have that's going to help you onboard and deploy this quickly. Also, please stay tuned for our discussion about how and why Microsoft Teams has so quickly become a world leader for unified communication services and how Sherweb can help with this process. So after this section, we'd like to start a short Q&A session to answer any questions that's related to what we've been discussing right now. But first, we have a poll question throughout the webinar. I do like getting live feedback. So our first question that you should see popping up: how comfortable are you offering unified communication solutions right now? So you should see the poll that it popped up, and you have the option to select either you've been offering them for a while or you've just added these solutions to your portfolio. All right, thank you very much for your answers. I'll give it just a few more seconds. All right, it's very interesting. Honestly, it's kind of we're getting a half and half answers here, so that's good to know. I'd like to point out there is a questions section within GoToWebinar. And we will be answering your questions throughout the process and afterwards. And if ever we don't answer it live, we will be answering offline afterwards. So please don't be shy to post questions that you have within the GoToWebinar questions section. Okay, first question. Yeah, we're kind of hearing this a lot recently. My business is currently slowing down. What are my opportunities at this stage? So I don't know if James or Kevin, who wants to answer this? James?
Yeah, I'll jump in, and you guys can add in or finish off my thought here. Yes, there's a few things that you can be doing, and definitely that sort of market slowdown is something that first I'll start by assuring you it is not unique to you or your business by any means. As the gentleman mentioned there, it's really something that, and as the news mentions, and as everyone we talk to mentions, it's affecting us all. So there is a certain slowdown, but definitely taking advantage of this time. So just through talking with partners, I had a couple of really good suggestions that have been passed to me and that Sherweb and the team was able to share. So one would be just let's say starting from right now from a customer management perspective, even reaching out to them. So definitely being opportunistic and trying to push a sale may not be the ideal time, as everyone's maybe a little bit more strapped, or their businesses have all forced to change very, very recently and very rapidly. So maybe that's not the approach, but maybe just staying in touch. Say, hey, how are you making it through here? Is there anything that I can do? Is there anything that any of your colleagues or your business partners, that any challenges that they're facing, that I as an MSP, as an expert, can assist you with? So I think just kind of reaching out that hand, letting know that you're there to help, I think is something that a lot of our partners who are continuing on their growth trajectory recently, that's been sort of number one for a lot of them. The second part would be more on an internal side of things. So that would be in the sense of training, maybe getting your staff up to speed on maybe some new solutions that you're looking to offer. So again, Sherweb, we have a ton of different ways we can help. So quick help being a really quick and really fun way to go about that. Just in terms of getting up to speed on different solutions that maybe you're not offering. Maybe you had turned down some opportunities because you weren't quite ready in terms of your employees or your resources. So that's sort of more in the forward thinking, sort of the preparatory, if that's a word there. That's more the two sort of approaches that we're seeing more commonly.
Super. Thank you, James. Second one, is Teams included in the E1 trial? So just clarification purposes, there is currently an E1 trial and promotion that's going on over at Sherweb. We have that. We also added Office Protect to that. And Kevin, James, just does Teams come with that?
That I'm not sure about. We can look at that and answer that later on during the broadcast year in the window. We can look that up.
Okay, super. I'm passing on the question, but I actually got that question just the other day. So I kind of went through the process of looking it up, and yes, it is available through the E1 trial. Last question before we move on to the next section, since we're getting close to our time. What can I do to close current deals or prepare for future opportunities?
Yeah, so in terms of closing current deals, again, I think it's just really staying in tune with them. Again, I think there's a small part of me, right? And I think anyone who appreciates just sort of the business environment does see somewhat of an opportunity, unfortunately, given sort of our status in the industry. It's a good balance to be done. In terms of what you can do to maybe bring those in sooner would be maybe to highlight additional values. So definitely, as Kevin mentioned, right, that sort of time wasting around the water cooler is definitely something that teams can definitely reduce a lot of that and keep it a little bit more efficient, keep your work hours a little bit more pointed. But on the other side of that is something that honestly we've done internally at Sherweb is having little happy hours, having team meetings over Teams, so staying connected. So I think that could be something that it's not necessarily going to help you close the deal, but it's just showing, hey, it's more than just the communication, it's more than just efficiency, but it's really a question of keeping your employees happy, the human aspect of what we get to do. So I think that's one, and I say tool very loosely here, but that's sort of one approach more so is the way that I've seen some success personally, that Sherweb and the team has seen success to our partners in that light.
Absolutely. At the same time, right now, because of the current situation, Sherweb has a number of promotions that are aimed to help close current deals. Microsoft has a number of promotions that are for the same purpose to help close deals right now. So that means they don't necessarily have to invest anything upfront, and they could still grow and continue their business. And once we're out of all this, they'll have upgraded to the latest and greatest at the same time. So reach out basically to your account manager. They know about these promotions, the Sherweb ones, the Microsoft ones. They'll ask about your needs, your requirements, and pretty much point you towards the one that's most relevant to your partners, your customers. So we've been talking a lot about the shift of the remote workforce and the several challenges that go along with it. So unified communications, the bringing together of multiple tools for communication, productivity, and collaboration. This has been a lifesaver during this explosion of remote workers. So in this section, we're going to be digging a little deeper into why Microsoft Teams solution has been having such great success recently, and how you too can have success leveraging Microsoft Teams with Sherweb's support and guidance. So Kevin,
Sure.
What is Microsoft Teams and why is it growing so fast?
So simply put, Microsoft Teams is the hub for teamwork, right? It's a chat-based workspace that enables teams to be more productive by giving them a single and secure location that provides together everything that a team needs, like we were talking about before, from chats to meetings to calls to file sharing and many other tools. It is the one place that all of your team needs are met, right, in one portal. So Microsoft Teams, just to back up, it was built from the ground up, right? It's 100% cloud-based. There is no server portion of this, right? It has become one of Microsoft's fastest growing products ever. Here's just an example. So in November of 2019, just a few months ago, Microsoft announced that, hey, there were over 19 million active users on Microsoft Teams, active daily users. Then in March 2020, that 19 million users grew to 44 million users. That's quite a growth pattern. That is incredible, right? And it's not just people logging into Teams and just maybe instant messaging back and forth. They're doing a lot more with it, right? This is true collaboration times 44 million people using all these features, in Microsoft Teams. So Teams is really built and it delivers on 4 different pillars, as I'll call it. The first one being communications, right? You can use it for those one-to-one chats, those group chats. You can use it on your desktop, on your tablet, on your phone. It's got a great Teams app experience. So there's not much I can't do on my mobile phone, whether it be iOS or Android or whatever, that I can't do with my desktop app or even with the web portion of it, right?
Uh-huh.
By design. So you can have those chats. You can have them. You can have chats in different channels within a team, right? This enables people to share information in a transparent way to help accelerate decision making, right? I don't have to go searching for different things. It's all right there in front of me. It's really easy to move again from a, a chat to that one-to-one, that phase to bringing in other people, hundreds of other people, helping to bridge those barriers of being quarantined in some examples, right? We're all together. So that's the first one. It's communications, right? Second one is collaboration. This is where the deep Office 365 integration really enables everyone today to use the Office apps that they're familiar with, right? Like when we talk about Word and Excel and PowerPoint, OneNote, SharePoint Online, Planner, even Power BI, all of those are within the context of Microsoft Teams. It brings all of these services together so that you can easily share and co-author files and do everything that we want to do in a team, a true team environment, right? That true collaboration. The third one is customization. So Microsoft Teams is important as many of you use services other than Office 365. When you do have other services, other line of business applications, you have to jump into those. You have to jump out of one portal, one app, and jump into another one. We built Teams again to be that hub for all of those services and tools that you use every day. So you can customize Teams. You can add tabs for Teams. You can put connectors. You can build bots very easily in Teams to include all of those other line of business apps and put them within Teams. So now I've got my Teams portal. It's got everything wrapped in there. I don't have to go hopping out to 10 different tools, beyond what's built into Teams. Now I'm plugging stuff into Teams so I can easily use that, right? It
That's
makes me work
awesome.
a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
The other one, and I think is more of a foundational topic, is security. Security's got to be the number one topic, right? The number one
Mhm.
part of a conversation. You can work with confidence in using the enterprise grade security and compliance and manageability that you expect it from Office 365. That customers tell us all the time, hey, this is a huge value for us. We'll get into more about compliance in just a little bit. I've got a few stories queued up that I'll tell you more about that. So yeah, there's a
Super.
lot in Microsoft Teams,
I,
making it as widely popular as it is today.
Super. So in that case, with that in mind, a lot of our partners are generally already reselling Office 365, and they have been successfully for years. So what's needed now for them to be able to offer unified communications for those businesses?
Yeah, so what's really cool about Office 365 is that Microsoft Teams is already enabled and it's deployed, right? People just have to know it's there and begin using it, right? There's not any complex deployment with it. Um, we know just because a great piece of technology is sitting in front of somebody that it doesn't mean that they're going to know what it is or actually use it. And even if they did, there's so much to it. How can you possibly discover it all, right? Beyond just the instant messaging and maybe conference calling and telephone calls, right? So we need to enable or develop a practice, as I call it, around adoption and change management training, right? We recommend that Sherweb's partners host several different training sessions with all of their clients throughout a set period of time, where you can train your users on the basics of Microsoft Teams. Start off with the basics, then move on from there. How you bring in those other apps that I was talking about.
Mhm.
Sherweb's here to help you with that. You can then get into more of the advanced features that many employees will adopt, and that'll make their lives a lot easier in their office when they get back to their office, at home or on the go. Again, using that's the Teams app on their smartphones. So at the end of the day, you want to make sure that everyone in an organization is actively using Microsoft Teams as your go-to collaboration product for security as well as just to enable that true teamwork.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. I remember actually when we migrated from Skype for Business on-prem over to Teams, and the change management was really, really important. It started off that we actually had both. We had Skype for Business and we had Teams, and slowly but surely we kind of got used to Teams and we phased out using Skype for Business entirely. Um, I hate to do it, but uh, I'll admit that at first, just the change to Teams, it, it was different. You know, it's a different environment, so it was a little scary, but it took no time at all for me to get used to the environment, what is where, what I'm able to do. And at this point, really not all that long later, it's really my go-to place for almost all of the work that I do. And I can't imagine how I'd be working without it. You know, what you were describing before of having like 10 different tools from 10 different vendors with 10 different sets of login credentials. I really don't want to get back to that point.
Yeah, so Jason, one of the things I also hear about too is, gosh, man, we're doing so much in Teams that it's like my volume of email goes down. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, yeah, I've seen that. It goes, but it goes up and down, quite a bit. But with Teams, yeah, I'd rather just, get into Teams and quickly IM or the whole channel to a team project that I'm working on. And instead of blasting out an email to a distribution list, I go to that channel where all the files are, where all the conversations are held, and I just pop something in there. I can at mention people to grab their attention so it stands out amongst all the other chat windows and all the other teams. Have you experienced anything like that too? With your email volume.
Yeah, you know what? To be totally honest, I never really thought about it until you just mentioned it now. Uh,
I'll
but
put them on the
yeah,
spot.
well, yeah, but you bring up an excellent point. It's true. I'm just doing a whole bunch of things in Teams that used to be back and forth emails, adding someone, removing someone. Oh, which which is the right file that we're supposed to be working on now because we emailed it to each other 10 times. So yeah, it's really night and day to be able to go directly in Teams, have the whole team there. Everyone's up to speed on to what was said and when, and we're all working on that same document.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think of
Yeah,
that.
and I'll add something to that as well. Just that email thing you said, it really struck a chord. I find the biggest difference for me is the threads. So let's say Jason and I are working on something, then we send it over to Kevin, maybe just to get his input on it, and then all it takes is maybe we did a forward, and now the tag and the subject line is a little bit different. So now it's a whole new thread, and now you're digging through which thread was my conversation with Jason. Was that part of the new one? And again, like that for me is just a thing of the past. I similarly, prior to joining Sherweb, I hadn't used Teams, just more from a telephony standpoint previously with the A-Link. But really seeing what it can do here, like again, it's something that I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine working without it anymore, personally.
Yeah. Uh, we could use this specific video and webinar as an example, right? We're all in different places across the world, but we used Teams to organize everything, right? So we were chatting via Teams, we were sharing this PowerPoint deck via Teams and working on it all together, and we were all on the same page the whole time.
Yep. Yep. True collaboration, across
Absolutely.
the world.
Yeah. So we've just had this big explosion of remote workers, and it's really been a giant spike in the use, or as a result, there's been a giant spike in the use of the various tools that enable remote collaboration. And along with that, we've unfortunately heard a few horror stories. So as a result, we get a lot of questions about security. Kevin, can you tell me a bit how Microsoft protects the personal and confidential information of the businesses and their employees? Oh, did we lose Kevin?
I think he's playing the statue game. Yeah, sure, I'll be right back with us. Um, but I guess as we're waiting for Kevin to come back there, I'm sure it'll just be momentarily. I can tell you sort of some of the things I know. I'm definitely not as seasoned in this field as Kevin will be for sure there, but I can give you some sort of ideas.
Yeah.
So a couple of different ones. So definitely, let's say starting from an Azure, from an AD perspective, as you can see on the screen as well. That would be one way to restrict or to grant accesses based on different permissions levels that you can assign to different users. So that's definitely one way. Another way, and this is again, I wasn't planning on jumping into this particular part here, so a little off the cuff here. But I do find also that having the solution be designed at an enterprise level has really been something that I personally can relate to. So I find if it's a more consumer-based software, something like some other video platforms that have come in the news in recent weeks here, were really designed at a consumer level, and as such, the security levels were consumer grade. Like there wasn't a ton of security or restrictions, let's say, based on any of those. Whereas Microsoft actually built the solution the other side. So it's really, let's make it as secure and as vetted as possible, and then we can open it up to enterprise. We'll go down to SMBs, and it was sort of the reverse. So I think that's a big part of why or where Microsoft security picks up. So those are two things I can kind of just off the top of my head there think of. But
that's great. Thank you. So just to add on top of that, Microsoft Teams is known as being the most secure and industry compliant collaboration application on the entire market. I know for a fact that all the communications are encrypted by default. You can't even turn it off while they're in transit and when they're at rest. What's fun about Microsoft is that they're all over the world. So they've worked so hard on security and compliance, and not just not just for us in Canada and the US, but worldwide. So they have all sorts of, they have an online portal that you could look up the different compliant certifications that they have, which is well over 100 industry compliant certifications. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I know that it's evaluated, I think it's yearly. Anyways, it's regularly evaluated by a third party, and everything's published at microsoft.com/trust.
Yeah, and that's actually even as many of you noticed there, if you see the logo there, where we're actually using a GoToWebinar today to be able to chat with everybody here. It is something that Microsoft is looking at to get into this sort of space, sort of like the mass meeting market, if you will. And part of their, not to say their hesitation or why we don't have it in our hands or on our screens just yet, is really that it's they're starting from the top, from an enterprise level. Can they guarantee the security that Fortune 500, that Fortune 100 companies need to have? Can they meet all the compliance regulations across the world? So that is really, because again, it's something that I had personally asked to Microsoft, and it's, hey, I hate is a super strong word. I would rather play in my yard. I would rather stay in the Microsoft ecosystem, and that was part of it. And honestly, I thought that logic was so sound. It's something I really appreciated. It was, hey, look, like when it's ready to be the caliber that people know us for, we will be there. But we're not going to jump in feet first and kind of figure it out on the fly here. They're really going to come out with their product that is ready. So that's something that we do. I didn't have an ETA, mind you, but it's something that I do believe is in the works.
All right, so this was a test. Now we're going to see what Kevin has to say and if it matches up with everything that we just said.
Perfect.
That is always the danger with a live broadcast, are just the little things that can always really throw you all off. Apologies, yeah. I'm back with you, and hopefully no more PC issues.
It's no problem. So Kevin, basically, while you were gone, we were talking about Microsoft security. And at this point, now that you're back, we were wondering if you had any specific examples or maybe stories that relate to security.
Yeah, sure do. One that comes to mind, it happened maybe a week or two ago. It's about school systems, the EDU space, right? So with the COVID-19 pandemic that's going on, there's so many school systems. I have kids, a lot of the listeners probably have kids. Probably, you all are trying to figure out, okay, what is the work from home education, format? What is that? It seems like my school system is still trying to get it together. I've thought about calling them up to help them. Uh, but but I had an interesting call with a major school system in the U.S. Recently, and they were just looking to provide that solution, right? As they even said to me, hey, look, at the end of the day, we're just trying to provide a remote solution that is safe for our guests, for our students and our educators to actually learn in, right? So we went through on about a 2-hour call. We went through the various scenarios they were after, with Microsoft Teams and what it can do, what it can't do, what it was built for. It was built for the enterprise, but you can take those features and apply it into the education system at the same time. So they were bringing up things like, hey, what about kids that might get on the microphones and start making sounds and misbehaving? How can I kick that person out, or can I mute their telephone call, or what happens if they continue to misbehave? Can I boot them from the call and then force them to wait until I admit them back into the lobby? And a lot of the answers were yes, you can do that, and here's how we think of it. But there were other things that we don't do, such as, what if I wanted to unmute someone's microphone? Well, that's an interesting scenario, and that's something that we don't do, because what if I could unmute your microphone right now? I could all of a sudden hear whatever it is, side conversation you might be having with your spouse. You don't want that to happen, right? So there's some things that we just don't do, and that's on purpose. But it was an interesting call. And one of the fascinating areas of that call, where I learned a little bit more as well about the EDU space, is when it came to compliance. So I asked them, I said, hey, understood that you're a school system, but what type of compliance areas are you concerned with? And at first, it was interesting. They said HIPAA. Well, HIPAA is, of course, healthcare related. They said they use it as a guideline when evaluating products for collaboration in this case, of course. And they use it because there's so much written into it about privacy concerns that they also have for their students and educators. But they said that the real one that they're after is FERPA. So FERPA stands for the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. That was something I had not heard of at the time. So on that call, and I want y'all to remember this, a neat little tactic you can use with your customers. On that call, I shared my screen, and as I was going through all the team scenarios that we were talking about and showing them how we could do it, showing someone how to do something is so much better than just talking about it. So we showed them how to do it. Then when it came time to compliance, I said, hey, let's go to the Microsoft Trust Center. That's at www.microsoft.com/trust.
I
Very easy
mentioned
to
that while
remember.
you were gone.
Thank you. We are matching up, right? We are
Yeah.
matching up. But that's where all of the compliance and privacy concerns are answered about the design and configuration of Azure, as well as Office 365. So in no time at all, we found information on HIPAA. We found all the information on FERPA, and there's over 100 other areas in there that you can find compliant related documentation on, right? So that was one. Another one that came up was a shorter story. I've talked with many financial organizations who are concerned about SOX compliance. I can't tell you how many times I've had to do that. Well, when that comes up, again, we go to Microsoft.com/trust to find the law or regulation, and we go through it with them. But by doing this, hey, I'm showing them, and I'm not just telling them about it, I'm showing them live how easy we can get to it in a matter of minutes, and I'm immediately addressing it's such a great topic and that concern, and I put it to rest for everyone out there. So I always encourage partners to look through that site ahead of time, understand how it's laid out, understand what's in there, know your audience before you hop on a call. Is it an EDU or is it a financial organization, manufacturing, and what type of compliance concerns would they have? Even if they don't bring it up, hey, you bring it up. Let's talk about it, and then let's go to the Microsoft website and let's show you what we really have available out there. So I'm glad things are matching up here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Kevin. That's
Yeah.
all like really useful information. So we at Sherweb, we've been providing cloud services for well over 20 years now. And we've got a house full of experts with deep technical knowledge of design, deployment, and best practices for the entire Office 365 suite, which includes, of course, Teams and the Teams Voice integration. So I invite you to reach out to your account manager at Sherweb to get a free consultation call to find out how we can optimize and centralize your customers' business communication needs. And we've talked a lot about Teams in general and the many needs that it addresses. However, I'd like to dig a bit deeper into the voice aspect. So stay tuned for our next module on how Sherweb could go that extra mile, making the transition to Teams as your communications hub with the help and guidance of our dedicated voice experts. I'm going to do one more poll question. I would like to know, and you're going to see this show up soon, are you currently offering Microsoft Teams to your customers? Are your customers using Teams right now? Are you offering it? Are you talking about Teams to your customers? I'm going to let this go just about 10 seconds, give time for everyone to kick in, or to put in their vote, I should say. All right, I'm going to close the poll. The majority of you are, if you're interested.
I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that the majority of our partners are already talking about Teams to their customers. That's, it's such a valuable tool. So you would definitely be missing out if you're not. The ones that aren't, maybe there's a reason. So let's have a chat. Give us a call, speak to your account manager. Find out why you're not currently offering Teams, and maybe we could show the different values that it has for very different verticals.
Right, and that's it, right? And I think I'd imagine most of the attendees, most of you who took time to join us today, are in the MSP space. So again, it's similar to I believe how Microsoft and Sherweb came together. It's you align yourself with a market leader. You provide the best-in-class solutions. You are the best productivity solution in the market. So again, if you're not currently offering it, maybe it was a lack of resources. Maybe it was maybe you're more of a break fix. But definitely there's some different ways we can help to transition you to a more recurring revenue type of business model, just to again to ensure you get to ride the way with us here.
Super. With everybody's permission, I'm going to be skipping the Q&A just for this little section here. We're going to save it all for the very end because we're running a little short on time, and I want to make sure that the most relevant and important information gets passed on and everyone has a chance to hear it. But afterwards, we will have the Q&A, and even if it's past 2 o'clock, James, we'll definitely be around to answer questions. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, if we don't have time, if we don't get to your question, we will be reaching out to you offline. So for
Perfect.
this section, thank you. I'm going to bring back James a little bit, more specifically to talk to us about how Sherweb can help with your voice deployments and our managed Teams voice. So James, can you tell us a bit more about how we can help our partners and their customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, it's something I'm privileged that I get to do. Yeah, so definitely I can kind of start off maybe from a more generic, so not necessarily in the VoIP realm, but just sort of like a 101 on what Sherweb can do and how we can be of assistance to you, to your customers, to your team, in any way, right? So starting from that, so Sherweb is a CSP. We are a value-added player in the field. It's really a big part of what we do. So that'll be everything from, and I kind of break it down to sort of 4 different parts. So I'll say it starts right from the marketing end of it. So we look at the full sales cycle. So we have a ton of collateral. We have a ton of tools that are available to you. So we can help to design some. Definitely, Kevin and Microsoft and the team there have a wealth of information available as well, from slide decks and just an incredible amount of content there. But definitely Sherweb on the sort of the more closer to you being your business partner as well. We can help you revamp some of that, maybe put your company's spin or your branding alongside something like that. So definitely just getting you ready to go and start offering the solution is sort of the first step in the sales process. Maybe not in terms of evaluating adding something to your current offering, but definitely from a sales perspective, that's so where my logic is taking me here. From there, we have an amazing pre-sales team. I say amazing because today, and I love patting myself on the back, apparently.
Well played.
but I am a very small one of seven, so I'm blessed to have uber knowledgeable colleagues around me again. So I get to work in the voice field, or in this particular segment of what we get to offer. So I work very, very closely with Jason and Kevin and other voice experts and the like. But we do have experts when it comes to dynamics. So Joel, if you're listening or if you watch, keep it up. We have Alex, who's our SME when it comes to modern workplace. We have James, we have Nick, we have Bruno, our leader, Michael Slater as well, who's also from the VoIP field previously with Jason and I, who is now transitioned to the head of pre-sales. So for whatever part of the business, whatever remote readiness you're trying to achieve, you have experts by your side, our account reps as well. I cannot say enough about how dedicated and how knowledgeable these people are. Again, it's a privilege to get to work with all of them, to work with you. Marketing, just to recap, pre-sales, so getting you ready, getting your customers ready, making sure we have the right solutions that we can offer, that you're putting your best foot forward, that your customers' needs are being met adequately and often even surpassing that. The next phase, let's say from a deployment standpoint.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah, I would imagine as you were an instrumental part in bringing us to where we are. And again, being from the industry, I think Sherweb does go definitely above and beyond. Like I loved, I'd worked with Sherweb previously as well there. But just knowing a little bit more about the inner workings and how far we go, it's something that really sets us apart. So let's say in the Microsoft managed Teams voice, rather the offering that we have, this is essentially deploying Microsoft Teams, which you can do definitely as a Microsoft Teams. There's a ton of documentation online. With our managed Teams voice offering, though, we do like to take it a step further. So as opposed to it being a little bit more in the self-serve side of things, we actually take that over for you. So it's no need to be a voice expert. Again, it's you can leverage Sherweb, your extended team, if you will, and we'll be that for you. So I've been called every type of name and label you could think of, often very, very positive ones. But we're able to come in and we can white label ourselves. And really, again, it's to make sure you're asking, or we're collectively asking the right questions to give your customers the right solution for their needs.
Yeah, and I think that extra that we do goes a really long way, because back in my day, now I'm the one dating myself, when I was installing Nortel systems with analog lines, that was a field in itself. You know, there was the phone guys and there was the IT guys, and the only connection for them was that us phone guys were running the network cables for the IT guys. That's about it, generally. Now the telco space, what I'm seeing, and we've been seeing for a good 10 years, is moving to the space of the MSP and the IT guy. But that's not what they've been doing necessarily for the last 10, 20, 30 years. So, you know, we've got that team of voice experts, people that we brought in, like James, that are from the industry and are really able to do the white glove service. You know, we're used to it. We're used to what an end user is going to be asking, which is actually maybe not the optimal setup. You know, so we'll explain to them that their requirement for having this automated attendant that rings for 30 seconds, that group, then goes to play another message, then rings for another 20 seconds, these other employees, before playing another message, before ringing somewhere, then going into a mailbox. We're there to tell them that's a bad idea. You know, just with our knowledge of the telco space. So, you know, we bring the best practice experience. And like you said, it's not a self-serve option anymore. At this point, we're here to do the whole thing for them, or for you, for our partners, for your end users. And what I'm seeing a lot is that people, you know, really use us a lot at first when we're training our partners, because that's what we do. We train our partners to be able to properly scope the setup that they need, to be able to understand their requirements, then offer the best solution. Because, you know, there's different voice solutions available. So we give all of that training. Those first couple of installs generally were a lot more involved. You know, we'll talk to the end user on behalf of our partner. We'll, like you said, we white label ourselves. And after a few installs, generally what we find is they start getting their own recipe that fits with their client base, and they need us less and less, but we're always there 24/7 to do a change, to provide some advice and or give some guidance.
So
Yeah,
Jason,
and
how about like demos? Like, hey, I want to see it in action. Can you set me up with a couple of dummy lines? Active lines, but with telephone numbers that work, and so you can really show someone what a call branch would look like, and how the calls transfer, and how voicemail works. The speech to text transcriptions. All the normal things you would want to see and need in a PBX solution. Do you do things like that too?
Absolutely. That's James does these wonderful things like that.
Okay.
Uh,
I don't know where you are on the screen, but Jason too is a big part of that. Absolutely.
yeah, so James and I regularly do product demos where we show it to people, show them the interfaces. I find that for our partners, that's it's necessary, right? Because as much as we're there to take care of the whole setup and we'll deliver it pre-built, they do have access and to manage it themselves, and we do like to empower our partners to be able to do that. So yes, we do have demos available, but what I suggest for every single one of our partners is to basically get it for yourself. Use it yourself. Eat your own dog food. What's the other expressions that go along with that? But that's the best way to learn. Plus, that first install is the hardest one, so at least you went through it for your own company. And then when you start doing it for your partners, you've already been through it, you know what to expect, and it's just a nice smooth deployment.
Yeah, and one thing about that too, I tell people on that same note is, one thing when you're out there selling, if you can speak from your personal experience, tell your own personal story. Hey, we were on this old PBX, you name the flavor of it. We moved to Teams. Here's what the experience was like, and here's how I use it today. And oh my gosh, things like my telephone number is no longer tied to my desk. It follows me everywhere with the Teams app. My cell phone. I've got my desk phone. I've got my headset. It goes everywhere. But speak from your personal experience. It'll just come right out. There's no better selling point than that. Speaking from
That's
your own
very good
personal story.
advice. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah, it's you say it confidently, you know what the day-to-day feels like, you
Yeah.
know what it looks like, you know what some of the hurdles or the challenges in terms of deploying your own solution, or maybe some things that you may have not thought about or it hadn't come to light during the sort of scoping process. So yeah, it's again, to echo Kevin and Jason there, I think that's exactly it. It's really you want to offer a solution that you're super comfortable with, something that you believe in. And I think for solutions like these, I think it's really a question of knowing or trying is believing. Again, like I wasn't a huge Teams user prior, but now I could not imagine, like quite honestly, I couldn't live without Teams. Quite honestly, now it's just
Yeah.
become the way I work. So yeah, so definitely getting a good feel for it there.
And I think we always talk about the best of both worlds. So Microsoft Teams has its own built-in phone system, which it's awesome. With our managed Teams voice, we're able to go further and help build it for them if they want instead. We could help with the porting. We could do any kind of troubleshooting live. We could go that even a step further. Some businesses, well, every business already has a phone system. Some of those places just invested in their phone system, and it's just not even a discussion to have about changing right now. Well, we're able to link Microsoft Teams with their existing phone system as well. We have that expertise in house. So, you may have just bought an IP phone system from this other vendor. We can bridge them together and make them talk. So your extension at the office with your existing system will ring in on Teams. So there's really, the possibilities are endless. Um, Remember that we're playing with multiple platforms, building this best of both worlds. So always, always, always reach out to your account manager when you have questions about what's possible, what's not possible, and we're going to be there to guide you in the right direction.
Yeah. And
I'm
we do
gonna
have oh, sorry, I'll let you cut me off after this. But yeah, this is, you do have sort of like, I kind of see it as about 6 different solutions. So if we go from our SIP trunking as a standalone to our hosted PBX, to our Teams integration, to our UCAS, to the connector as a standalone, to Microsoft Teams, definitely as sort of at the forefront of it all. it's sort of choosing what, when, and why will sort of align towards one solution or another. So again,
and
lean
you can
on
mix
us.
Yep.
And
Right.
again, that's where there's such a value there. So again, just reach out. Let's brainstorm. There's nothing committing. You don't even have to, like there's nothing on the line there. It's just really just chat. We're business partners. We want to work with you. We want to make sure you're able to offer the solutions your customers need. So yeah, again, just leverage us as a sounding board, if nothing more.
Yeah. So always reach out to your account manager to get more information, to maybe book a demo call with James or I, and we're always here for you. We're nearing 2 o'clock, speeding up. Final poll question: would you like to have a one-on-one session with your account manager? Oh, there we go. And afterwards, we're just going to be going to our final Q&A. So again, there's a questions tab. Please ask your questions. I'm going to be going through them right now. I'm just waiting for the polls to stop. Okay. Thank you, everybody who voted. We'll close it now and move on to our question and answer period. I'm sorry if we're going over the 2 minutes, but don't forget things are going to be recorded. And if you have questions, just call your account manager. So first question that we get this a lot. I'll give it to James, and feel free to redistribute if you want, James. I've never deployed a phone system before. Can Sherweb do it for me? Yeah.
Yes, and so yes, with your help is I was going to say yes and no, but yes, with your help is the actual answer. So yes, everything from a cloud or a hosted perspective. So in terms of building out the PBX, hunt groups, call queues, IVRs, any fancy ring strategies, these are all things that we'll be able to do. So again, as part of our service, in terms of understanding the needs of your customers, we'll be able to run through and address every one of those needs. As Jason mentioned, we have a really impressive amount of flexibility amongst our solutions. So with maybe it's a hybrid of Teams and our Cloud PBX, maybe it's Cloud PBX and UCaaS is the other flavor. So absolutely, yes, we can help you get there. Where I draw the line, where I say we'll leverage you a little bit more, would be the on-site networking. So things like going to the router, any infrastructure that needs to be in place. So these are things, again, Jason, myself coming from telecom field, and even Kevin, as I just learned here from Verizon as well. So we can definitely guide you in terms of any peripheral equipment required, if you're looking at the paging systems and amplifiers or anything of the like. So definitely, Jason and I have gone through many, as we've gotten to deploy a bunch over the years ourselves in past lives. So yes, we can definitely help. We can guide. QoS, anything on site will still be very much in your court, as you will most likely remain the face, depending on your partner strategy with us. So you'll always be that sort of first point of contact. You'll be the one they call when there's an issue or a question. Unbeknownst to them, we'll be right behind you supporting and making sure that you come out on top. Again, their needs being met, you being that solution provider. Your co-partner, Jason, tell her say hi.
Yes, that's fun of working from home. I've got Coconut the cat that is now woken up right next to me. So I apologize for any strange cat sounds. Why would someone need a desk phone or any other desk phone nowadays?
I'll take that one. I've a one sentence answer to that. It is old habits die hard.
That's well said. Well said.
That's really the main thing that we see. Some people, it's just the learning curve of maybe going to an entire soft phone, maybe in terms of sourcing the equipment or headsets or anything of the sort. So it's not for everyone, and hence the flexibility that we offer. And this is where I really feel Sherweb has an additional value to the masterpiece that is Teams that Microsoft created. So we're able to help, as we said, if you want to keep 3 devices for maybe some of your coworkers that aren't quite ready for an entire soft phone environment, perfect. We can definitely find a way, or we have ways rather, already in place to accommodate them. But you're entirely right in your line of thinking that it is something that is slowly going by the wayside. And this new virtual world we're in here is it's here to stay. That's why personally I made the jump from hardware to software, is sort of seeing the writing on the wall there.
Yes,
Yeah, the other
that's what
thing about,
happens.
oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Jason, go ahead. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, the other thing I think of when it comes to phones and desk phones is personas, right? You always have those people that, like James said, you know, old habits die hard. They're going to want that desk phone, but that doesn't mean everyone has to have one. You can have, you know, 10% of your deployment maybe desk phones, and the other 90% might be just, you know, straight up headsets. And what kind of headsets? So, you know, there's a number of different vendors out there. There's you know, USB connected headsets, there's Bluetooth, there's DACT. I'm on a DACT, great quality. I love this headset. I've had it for 5 years. But when I think of desk phones, yeah, it's you're right. Why would I need one? And we come from a generation, I'm going to age us all, where we are flexible, right? Where I say, yeah, I don't want a desk phone. I'm comfortable with this, but there might be other generations who don't even want to talk on the phone. They'd rather text somebody through instant messaging. That's just a whole other persona from a different age group, and that's okay. That's the beauty of Microsoft Teams and the whole ecosystem, the partner network, is that it is very, very flexible, and you can do so much with it. You know, just a funny story. I remember once we had someone who demanded a desk phone because they were not going to wear a headset because they were not going to mess up their hair. And that's okay. I don't have that problem. I mean, I'll put anything on. I don't use a comb anymore. It's wonderful, I got to tell you. But hey, those are very real stories, and they're very real concerns, and you have to adapt and build up those personas to address everybody's need. So I'll
yeah.
always remember that one about the headset. But
I I kind of want to thank you guys for your answers, minus the part where you made me out to be the old guy, because I like my desk phone. Uh, like so, yes, I see, for sure. There, everybody's right. The trend is moving towards having your soft phone, whether it be on your cell phone, uh, soft phone on your PC. You know, it just kind of, the app follows you everywhere. I'm old school and I like having my desk phone, but that is the whole purpose of this, is that, you know, this fits for everybody. We got multiple generations right now of people in the workforce, and this solution works for everybody. We've got an answer for every different solution. So that person that's got their phone that's been on their desk for the last 5-10 years, we might be able to keep that exact same phone and interface them all together to be able to talk together. Whereas other people can finally throw out those phones and go completely Teams app. You know, so we do have something for everybody, and it's not all or nothing. You know, within one organization, you could have different types of setup to match those different personas. I guess this is just worth repeating, so I'm just gonna say the question. What was that site again for the HIPAA and the different Microsoft compliance?
sure thing. So that's Microsoft.com/trust, TRUST.
Thank you. So
A lot of content in there. Yep.
Microsoft.com/trust. Yes, definitely. Wow, we've actually got a lot of questions, and we're past our time. So everyone that asked a question, we will be reaching out to you offline. James, Kevin, thank you so very much for joining us today. I really appreciate it to get your feedback, your history, and your points of view. And all of our partners that took the time, over an hour today, for this whole webinar. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We hope that we've given you some information, or maybe lit up a light bulb, and that you have some questions, in which case reach out to us. We're here for you.
Yep.
So thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Jason. And even a sort of a quiet shout out to Sona there. I told her I'd embarrass her at some point. But thank you so much. So Sona is our product marketing manager. So when I highlighted some of the services that Sherweb offers, one of them definitely being marketing rather, and sort of product readiness. These are things that Sona can help with. So again, she helped to put this Q&A together, bring us all together, and coordinating it all. So Yeah, again, so thank you, Jason. Thank you, Kevin, Sona, the Sherweb team, to all of our guests. Thanks for sitting through all of this with us here. And as Jason mentioned, if there's any other ideas, hopefully we spark something for you. And then just sort of wishing you all the best here, and letting you know we're here to help.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.